Thank you so much. Hey everybody, my name is TJ McLelland. I am super excited to be here, but before we get started, I want everybody to stand up and kind of mosey to this little section over here. Kind of here in the middle, gather up. We're gonna do a little game. I'm sure you guys have played rock, paper, scissors, right? Everybody played this game? Does anybody not know how to play this game? Okay, rock, paper, scissors, shoot, okay? I want you to turn to your neighbor, whoever's closest to you, and if you lose, you are going to start cheering on the people that are still in. So if you win, you go and find somebody else that just won until we only have one winner, okay? And I want you guys to cheer like you are at a solid jazz game, maybe from the 90s. You guys are probably too young. They're not good right now. Yeah. Okay. So go. First people. And if you lose, start cheering. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Let's go! Let's go! Winners, come right here! Winners! Winners! Let's go! Right here! Let's go! Oh! Woo! Yeah! All right, everybody go ahead and take your seats. And Sam, let me borrow your phone for a second. Yep. Can you unlock it? Just give me your camera. Okay. Gotcha. All right, I'm going to try to snap a selfie, so everybody try to get in it. Everybody look good? 1, 2, 3. Okay. It's on my phone.
Drop it in Slack.
I'm not going to drop it in Slack. If you want me to.
Right now.
Yeah, drop it in Slack right now. All right. Thank you for the fun. I love kind of kicking it off, to be excited, having a good time. I am super excited to be here with you guys. As Sam mentioned, my name's TJ. A little bit about me. I grew up in West Jordan, so I don't know if anybody here grew up in West Jordan, but I love just talking about Utah. I've been married for 19 years with 4 kids, which is crazy. Sometimes I can't even believe that my wife likes me still. And speaking of spouses, we will kind of get into significant others and stuff like that for our relationship building, so it'll be really fun. I was in the military service, so I was active duty Air Force for about 9 years, and then I transferred over to the Guard unit that I'm still in the Utah Air National Guard right now. I did 4 tours, 3 of which were to Afghanistan. 1 of those was to Africa. I don't really count that one as it was a deployment, but we had a really good time. It was like a Korea base, and we were all over jumping from cliffs and swimming with whale sharks and doing our nation's bidding and putting warheads on foreheads. That's kind of, I shouldn't have used that language, sorry. Let me know where the line is, and I'll just walk right over that. All right, and I've been a realtor broker. I've done over 150 million in closed deals. So I love that you guys are in the real estate investing side and doing digital marketing. It looks like you guys are going to have new verticals going other places, so I love that. I've got almost 20 people on my current team, which is really fun. And then I've published a book, which if you guys have published a book on Amazon, it's actually not that hard. So if you have a goal this year or in the future to write a book, Amazon is one of the easiest places to get that out there. And then I'm just passionate about relationships. I love team building. This is going to be an interactive course. I shouldn't say course, just an interactive kind of hour. So here's the scope. I need somebody who is a good clock watcher. Is anybody a good clock watcher in here? You are? Okay, awesome. Give me 30 minutes. And then just stop me, interrupt me in whatever we're doing, just hey TJ, we're at the 30-minute mark. Thank you. So let's start with some gratitude. That's one of my favorite ways to start. pretty much any day, any class, I love to start with some gratitude. I'm going to walk in front of this. You're probably not supposed to do that, but whatever. Let's start with some gratitude. Does anybody have anything they are grateful for? Anybody that wants to share, willing to share? Go ahead.
Last year we got a new car.
Nice.
And not new to us.
Cool.
But I'm really thankful for it. As I was driving up this hill, I'm so thankful that we could afford a new car because our last one could not have made it up that hill and up this other side. So I'm very thankful for our car.
Oh, that's awesome. A little applause for him. Thank you for sharing. Let's do two more. One from this side. Anybody feel grateful for anything? Go ahead.
Just being here, actually.
Cool.
I don't get to. I mean, I stood at the bus stop this morning. And I looked around, like, what happened to you guys? You know, so it was kind of nice to be able to be here to meet everybody on the team.
Oh, nice. I like that.
I feel more connected.
Yeah, I love that. Little applause. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. On that note, how many of you guys here are all telework? Okay. So, all right, that makes sense. Come and see everybody. All right, one more kind of from this middle-ish section. Go ahead.
New opportunities.
Okay, I love that. Wow, okay, all right. Well, yeah, welcome to the team. Let's give them some applause. All right. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being willing to share. Since I said this is kind of going to be interactive, we are definitely going to be open and honest and vulnerable. I love when people share. When we start talking about building relationships and we start talking about some of the most stressful relationships that are in our lives, we are going to be vulnerable. So sometimes if there's somebody that shares something that is very emotionally intense or emotionally fired up, just be willing to have the grace to allow that person to kind of feel the emotions, because sometimes it gets heavy. I'm not going to say that it will be heavy in here. It's just sometimes it does. I don't know what happens. It just depends on the group. And then you guys will have to let me apologize for my voice. I've been shooting a lot of YouTube content currently, so I've been talking like crazy, so thank you. All right, and then respecting of others. Something that I love to use here is I want you to think about when you're communicating to somebody and they might not be listening or they might not be understanding you, or reversing that, if somebody's telling you something and you feel frustrated because they're just unloading on you and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. There's two things. One, I love to start a statement with I feel like, because then it is a statement that only kind of gives them the definition of what your emotions are feeling at the time. And nobody can tell you that you're wrong. An I feel statement is always correct and accurate for you at the time. And so when you start a statement with I feel like, there's no raw data that somebody can say, hey, this is not accurate or this is not right. And people try to tell you how you can feel, but that they're doing the wrong thing. The last one on here is help me understand. I love using this with my kids. I love using it with my wife. And the way to use this is if they are berating you with a lot of information, and I don't know what the culture is like here, but let's say you have a supervisor or a person that just loves to like hammer things down to you, and you're like, I have no idea what they just said. Help me understand really diffuses the scenario. So a scenario would be, help me understand those 10 items that you just said, or help me understand which ones you would like me to prioritize first, because I can't do all 10 at the same time. Okay, so as we communicate in here, and somebody says something that you're like, I don't know what you just said, because they don't feel the same way, or they don't have the same emotion, or the way they view the world is completely different, ask them, help me understand what you mean by that. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, awesome. Let me come to this side. Okay, let's talk about our agenda. So we've kind of given the scope. This is our agenda. We're going to talk about basics of building relationships. It's one of the key factors of an organization, especially as you guys continue to grow. Your organization is going to get bigger, more personalities, more personalities on opposite ends of the spectrum, more political sphere, all the things that go into running an organization. You guys are definitely going to be relying heavily on relationships. Then we'll talk about Arbinger boxes and the Arbinger activity. Arbinger is an institute here in Utah. I think they're branching out from Utah, but they have several good books that are really good for you guys to read about relationships, and some of them are about anger and peace building and things like that. But all of the things that we're going to use are going to be from Arbinger. I'm not an Arbinger Institute instructor. I just love their material, and maybe one day they'll pick me up as an instructor. That'd be nice. Then best ways out of the box. I know right now that doesn't make any sense. I will help you guys understand. And then we'll have a wrap up with some questions. Okay, when we're thinking about building a relationship, how many of us love to start at the top of this pyramid? What does the top say? Anybody just yell it out. What's the top one say? Correct the issue. Who here is a supervisor? Who here has kids? Who here has a spouse, significant other? Who here has a dog, a cat? Did anybody not raise their hand? Guy in the back. Okay. Do you have a car that you don't like? A car, like a car you drive. Okay, all right. You're going to use that. Sorry, I tried to hit everybody. Huh? So, somehow there's always one. You, my friend, are it. I'm not going to pick on you. Yes, I will. Yeah, I definitely will. Okay, but how often do we stare, like we are in this corrective mode? How often with your kids are you just like, you didn't do that right, we're going to correct this? How often with your spouse do you try to do that? And it doesn't work for me either, so. Okay, so when we are always spending a lot of time in the corrective issue, or the corrective phase here, we don't really get anything done. How often have you seen in life, and especially right now in politics, when everything's heated or people's worldviews, correcting the issue, you can't just berate somebody to try to correct the issue. So, if we're going to correct an issue, just take your most toxic relationship right now. Think about that one just in your head. You don't have to say who it is. If it's somebody in this room, just point at them. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Okay. If you are going to correct an issue with this relationship, then you need to step down to the next box, which is teach and communicate. If you have a relationship with that person that you cannot teach and communicate with them, then what do you think you do? Anybody else? Just yell it out. What do you think you do if you can't teach and communicate with them? Right. You move down. Listen and learn. What do you think you do if you can't listen and learn? Build the relationship. Okay. How do you think you try to build the relationship if you can't do that? Even that step. Thank you. Build supporting relationships. Thank you. And then lastly, if you just can't build a relationship with any of the people around that person, then what do you think you do? Get out of the box. Like I said, that probably means nothing to you guys, so we're going to revisit this triangle, so just keep that in your mind. The Arbinger Institute, this is kind of their basics, the inward and outward mindset. Has anybody ever heard this before? Awesome. Has anybody read those books?
We're reading that book, starting now.
Okay.
That's, I think the first book club on it's like a few weeks.
Okay, all right. It will be awesome if you implement the things that are in there. It's incredible. I would say that if you want to really prove or build your relationships and go to the next level, the Arbinger Institute stuff will allow you to do that. Okay, but let's kind of focus on what an inward mindset is. When a person is an inward or has an inward mindset, they look at everybody else as an object. Do you think human nature is easy to see somebody as an object? Super easy, right? When you guys were driving up here, were you in traffic? Anybody? Oh, okay, nice. You weren't.
Up here like 2 hours early, so.
Okay, wow, all right. Well, minus this guy, was anybody else in traffic? When you're in traffic, do you think, wow, that guy just cut me off and I hate him and I want him to go and crash or anything like that? Or are you like, or do you think, oh man, that guy probably has like somewhere really important to be. Maybe he's a really important person. No, we're like, dude, that guy cut me off. Here's the how to say hello in California, and keep it moving, right? So an inward mindset, just think about anytime you're thinking about somebody as an object, which could be vehicles that you use, not car physically, but it could be like the person that's going to get something done for you. That could be a vehicle you get something done with. Obstacles that you blame, that would be an inward mindset because you're looking at them like an object. Or irrelevancies. Have you ever just cast somebody aside? Maybe done one of these, you just don't matter to me. Get out of my hair. Like, I don't want to even talk to you. So when you're in an inward mindset, this is really, really difficult to build any relationships. And people can feel it the second you try to talk to them, and which is really hard. Human nature is to spend our time in an inward mindset. And I don't know why we're wired that way, but that's just how it is. Does anybody feel like they have an inward mindset quite often throughout the day? Yeah, okay, thank you, yeah. Right? We all do. All right, let's kind of focus on outward mindset now. When we're focusing on an outward mindset, then we are looking at people like people. I love to be in a room full of like professionals because we're all on a different level playing field in how much money we have, how much assets we have, the family size we have, the different experiences we've had. But what's fun to be in a room full of professionals or just anywhere is, are we all humans? We're all of the human race. So we have the opportunity to see everybody as a person. So when we have an outward mindset, now we don't see them as a vehicle or an obstacle or an object. We see them as a person. We see their needs, their objectives, some of their challenges potentially. So once again, kind of reflect back into that most toxic relationship that you have. How often do you treat that person like an object? Or versus how often do you treat them as a person? Right? So just kind of do an inward reflection on that. Any questions thus far? You guys can always stop me or interject anytime. Okay, let's talk about inward mindset behaviors. These behaviors are really easy to pick out in somebody else, right? You can always tell your spouse, like, oh, you're threatening me. Oh, you're blaming me. You know, your kids you might exclude them. We don't want these kids to make these choices. Get out of here, kids. You don't even know. What about offering little feedback? Just do it because I said so. Who said that in this room? 100%. I have said that so many times with my kids, I just can't even tell you. And people that I've supervised in the military, that one gets a little different because sometimes it's like, if you do this, you're going to die. So just do it real quick and then I'll explain it later. So that one has some barriers right there. And we're all navigating that, right? I don't know if you guys have been in life and death situations like that where you're trying to help somebody else not die. It's a little more stressful. And sometimes you just have to get the object done. So there's some caveats to all that. Okay, what about engaging in niceties? In an organization, do you think that sometimes you're just being nice because you have to be nice? Or when you guys get new people in, which it sounds like you're going to grow like crazy, which I hope you guys do, just crush it. If you get people in there and you're just being nice, that's not really building the relationships. You want to get in there and ask them some questions, find out what they're like. And we'll get back to that triangle where you build the relationship from the ground up. Okay, those ones are pretty easy to see. Outward mindsets are way, way more difficult. Why do you think that they're way more difficult? Does anybody have like a comment about that? Go ahead.
It takes effort, and it takes a conscious mindset.
Yeah.
That's what we are trying to achieve.
Oh, yeah. Conscious mindset. which is way harder to do, right? Go ahead.
It's almost all you can do to keep things together thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
So it takes like a lot of just outward mindset, being willing to push yourself to care about others.
Yeah. No, I love that. What else?
It takes others as well, not just yourself. Like your mindset.
Yeah.
It takes only yourself. Like you can point fingers at whoever you want. It's all internal.
Totally.
It takes other people that you can communicate with to show them, like, hey, this is what's happening.
Yeah, totally. I love that. Go ahead.
Like what Noah said, I think it's hard because it's not natural. The natural response is to be
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And along with, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I
you're
think it leaves you more vulnerable too, because I think it's
Yeah.
getting outside of yourself, which means opening up to other people, and sometimes that lets people in to see maybe not the best sides of you or of themselves,
Yeah.
and that offers up some awkward situations. I don't know.
Totally. Oh, yeah, 100%. And we are about to be super vulnerable here in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, with this mindset, you have to like care. It has to come from within being genuine.
Yeah,
So
100%.
take effort to care about the same thing day out, and like difficult conversations come up.
Oh, yeah. And difficult conversations sometimes like spur how easy it is to be inward. Now, quick question, kind of what Sam was saying, it takes others. Do you think you can ever have an inward mindset and be by yourself? Anybody? Can you have an inward mindset and be by yourself? You totally can, right? Yeah, depends on the situation, lots of factors, but totally. And being inward with yourself isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there are opportunities for you to reflect what inward mindset you have and an outward mindset. Okay, so outward mindset. Set high expectations. Are you going to be setting some high expectations? I'm just pointing at you, sorry, calling you out. Yes, right? He's got high expectations. Otherwise, an organization is really hard to make it, and your guys' livelihoods would probably not, you'd have to find a different job, right? Which I love high expectations because that sets an outward mindset. He cares about what you guys are going to do, not just in output, not just in volume or share price growth, or if you guys ever launch and go public or whatever. Not just because of that, because when you set high expectations, then you guys can actually fulfill what you guys are trying to do as a team and a group and build those relationships stronger within your organization. Giving helpful correction. Those that are supervisors here, have you ever given a correction that you were like, wow, that was not helpful? Or your pupils, like your people that you're supervising, and they just look at the manager that just told them something like, wow, that was super helpful. Here's my middle finger, right? Or you do some niceties after that. Thank you very much for not doing my job, or or whatever. So giving some high quality corrections really helps have an outward mindset, because you are setting the standard that you want to see from them, and you give them the opportunity to try to do that. You notice how there's less outward mindsets on here? Like I said, it's hard. It's just harder to do the outward mindset stuff. It takes the conscious effort. Let's see. What about offering help? We kind of mentioned in here that it takes others and you have to show that you care, right? Offering some genuine help, not just the niceties. You think this one's kind of difficult to do? Take correction easily? Why do you think that's so hard in everyday life? Does anybody have a comment about that? Go ahead.
I think taking correction is like instantly asking me to think inwardly.
Totally.
So, like, it takes even more effort in that case to be thinking inwardly, be asked to think inwardly, but then to think outwardly.
Totally.
And like to take it in a way that I need to understand how this person wants to give it to me.
Sure.
What the actual correction is, and not be offended by it.
Oh yeah, 100%. The interesting thing with taking correction easily is when you guys start building your relationships, you guys are already building them right now. I'm not saying start, but as you continue to grow and build that, you will instantly feel if your person that's above you or your teammate or whatever, if they're coming at you like you're an object, this correction is going to be so hard. You're just going to put up barriers. You're going to fight them, hopefully not physically, but who knows. But taking correction is super hard.
If you go back to the inward, I want to get a picture of that.
Yeah, sure. I can give you the slides too.
I'm caught up with the picture.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so we're back to this triangle. Now it makes sense. Get out of the box. Can you build a relationship if you were inside the box? Do you think it works? 100% no. No, this is a stage. Oh, sorry, it's just a black line. This is the stage where you have to get to start building a relationship. Now, think back to your most toxic relationship. When we're thinking about that toxic relationship and we think about how many times we're inside the box, do you think that builds like a negative cycle? And you just go round and around and around with negative emotions, negative words sometimes. So when we get outside of the box, then we can start to build these, but only then. All right. Let's talk about the Arbinger 4 boxes. We have a worse than box, a better than box, a must be seen as box, and a I deserve box. So as I relay the information about each box, I want you to think in your mind, which box do you naturally go to all the time? Like the easiest one for you to fall back to. And I'm sure it will stand out like a sore thumb. Everybody can be all 4 boxes though. So if you're like, yeah, I totally do that when I'm at church, or I totally do that when I'm at work, or I totally do that when I'm on the ski lift and somebody cuts me off, or whatever. I'm just throwing it out there. We can all be one of these boxes, but most likely you have one that you naturally tend to gravitate towards. So just be thinking that in your mind. Okay, so the worse than box, we're going to start with that one first. I know these are kind of probably not that legible from back there. Sorry about that. But hopefully we'll get through it. So the worse than box is where you could view yourself as not as good, or that you're broken, or you're deficient. Or who's like an English major? Who can tell us what faded means? Anybody? Okay. Yeah, take a stab at it.
That if you're fated to be a certain way, it's as if you have no control over your destiny.
Okay.
Because that's just how the stars line up.
Yeah, love it. We're going to go with that definition because I don't know it either. No, I just love to throw it out there. But yeah, thank you. I just love to kind of razz everybody. So it's just a good time. Anyway, you could view yourself as not as good, broken, deficient, or faded. So if you're feeling like, oh, I'm kind of broken, or I didn't do very good on that. You could view others as advantaged or privileged. Like, man, they had a trust fund, and that's why they're amazing. Or they just have so much talent. Yeah, they might have a lot of talent, but you can still see that person as a person instead of an object. Or maybe they're super blessed, right? In the South, people always say that a lot. Oh, you're just blessed. Or bless you, God bless you. We just say it less up here. I was in North Carolina for almost my entire active duty career, so the South kind of like resonates with me a little bit, yeah. Your feelings. Have you ever felt helpless or jealous or bitter or depressed? Might be the worse than box. This one's sometimes one of the easiest ones to identify as. Or you could view the world as hard, difficult, or it's against you, right? I don't know how you guys feel about things right now. I loved talking about interest rates and you guys are still surviving. That is huge. But there are so many other people that said the world's against them. The interest rates are against me. The Fed is against me. The president is against me, right? So it's easy to identify with. Okay, better than box. This one's kind of like a reverse of that, and I'm not saying this is like the God complex or anything like that. What I'm trying to introduce here is that you see the world as, I'm just a step above somebody else. Or one of the easiest ways to identify with the better than box is, my kids are down here and I'm up here. Or one that happens to me all the time, and I shouldn't admit this out loud, but I'm up here and my spouse is doing this. Whatever that is. Could be, it's that. She's way down here. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Don't watch that, babe. Don't tell her. Okay. So when we're talking about the better than box, I'm not saying God complex or anything like that. I'm just saying sometimes it's easier to say, I'm just better than that person. So you might see yourself as superior or important or virtuous or right. As a supervisor, sometimes it's super easy to get into this box because you might feel like you're under people or whoever you're managing is beneath you. It's super easy to fall into that. You could view your others, the people that you're managing, maybe as inferior or incapable, irrelevant, or they're just wrong. Did you have a comment? Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry.
I'm just thinking about this. I feel like this is how 90% of people interact.
Oh, 100%. Keyboard warriors. Anybody a keyboard warrior that willing to admit it? Yeah. Does anybody love to just troll keyboard warrior just for fun? Does anybody not know what that means? Yeah. Super fun, right? And I totally agree with you 100%. Really easy to see this online. And sometimes the anonymous side makes it capable of elevating that. And sometimes just the internet kind of facilitates that because you wouldn't say that to somebody's face. But yeah, great comment. Thank you. All right, now feelings. You might be impatient, disdainful, or indifferent. The one that I always kind of resort back to is this impatient. I want it done yesterday. Right? Do you ever ask your people that? I want this done yesterday. Slightly less now. Okay, all right. So you're growing, right? The relationship's getting better. Otherwise, just tell them some corrective feedback, like from the other slide. Like, hey man, I don't understand that. Help me understand why you're berating me with it needed to be done yesterday. Because maybe there's a valid reason. Maybe there's a valid reason why it was like, yeah, yesterday was the day. If you don't know that, then it's hard to take that corrective feedback. View of the world. Does anybody ever feel like the world's just competitive? Are you guys in a competitive nature? Yeah? Are you guys in a competitive nature? Right? What are you competing on right now in your organization? Just anybody, you can throw it out. Leads, market share. What else? Anybody else? Cutting costs, right? There's a whole slew of items you guys could be competing on. What about in everything else in your life? Are you competing on anything else? Kid time, spouse time, time in general, right? Do you guys compete for time? So that's super, super huge. What about this one? This one kind of does resonate, God complex. Oh, the world needs me. It's nice. The world's better with me. Yeah, the world is better with each and every one of you, for sure. And the world does need you. So I'm not saying no to that. But it's easy to slip into a mindset of, I'm the only person that matters. Okay? Any questions there? Does anybody feel like they resonated with the first one or the second one yet? Okay. Does anybody feel like they could have been both? Solid, okay. Okay. How are we doing on time? We getting close? Okay, cool. All right, we're almost there. Thank you. Boy, that was almost like, whew. They should, yeah, I'm doing all right. Thanks. Let me come over here. All right, let's talk about the must be seen as box. At first glance, does anybody feel like, oh, I'm the must be seen as box for sure? Anybody? Just with the title? Like, do you do things for people to watch you? I think I just did this, so you guys had to watch me. I'm just kidding. All right, so must be seen as box. You could view yourself as need to be well thought of. Okay, are you doing things out there online, in life, to be well thought of? Is one of your decisions, I got to do this because other people are watching me? In today's society, on social media, do you think a lot of people live in this box all day, every single day? 100%. They could be fake. Have you ever had an instance with a fake person? Who here has had an instance with a fake person or an experience? Does anybody want to comment on like how quickly you knew that it was fake? Anybody? Was it fast? Lightning fast?
Honestly, it took 20 years.
Okay. Hey, we're not talking about your most toxic relation. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. All right. Viewing of others. You could view others that they're judging you. Sometimes we have that inward reflection. I'm being judged. Right? When we talk about that corrective feedback, and you kind of spoke about that, it naturally warrants somebody going into the box, most likely, or both parties. Because you feel like you're judged, or they're judging you. So it's easy to slip into that. They could be threatening. Who here has don't raise your hand. Who here has a threatening relationship that just is in general? Or have you ever experienced it or watched it? Have you ever seen a toxic, threatening relationship? Okay, think about that. Let's go to feelings. You can feel anxious. You can feel afraid. You can feel needy. You can feel stressed. You could feel overwhelmed. What about views of the world? You could view the world as dangerous. Most likely everybody in here is not seeing the world as dangerous, most likely. But somebody in here might feel like the world's watching you. Or if you don't put this social media post out, then people won't see you and they won't like you and they won't subscribe to your channel or whatever. And I do lots of this right now. Like I said, I'm shooting a lot of YouTube content. And then lastly, kind of the flip of that. You see others as judgmental. You see yourself as being judged. Okay, let's do the last one. Then we're going to have a fun activity. The I deserve box. This one can really look close to the better than box. So just kind of like try to map that out in your mind, which was which. So I deserve box, your view of yourself, you're meritorious, or you're mistreated, or you're a victim, or you're unappreciated or underappreciated. Does anybody's spouse probably fit into this box a lot, where they clean the house, they cook dinner, and then you don't say anything? You're like, yeah, you did your job. Great job. Or you don't even say nothing, right? I know that people can often feel like this, unappreciated. There will be people walking around every single day in this organization that might feel unappreciated. It's super hard. And I'm not saying like it's going to happen today and tomorrow and every day after that, so I don't want to put that on you, but people can feel unappreciated very easily. So just watch that. If you know that this is your natural tendency, I'll show you some things of how to get out of the box, and some of them will fix some of these issues. You could be viewing of others mistaken, mistreating, or ungrateful, right? My wife and I'm notoriously in this viewing everybody else as ungrateful. Like, oh, I bought that. I helped us go to Disneyland. I was the one that paid for everything. I spent a lot of time going to work or whatever. Well, they did too. They did their job, right? My kids in general, I oftentimes can put them in this box by telling them that they're ungrateful. Like, yeah, you had lights and water, and you took a shower today, and you had clothes. You ungrateful little piece, you know. Just kidding. Okay, so sometimes it's easy to get into this box. Feelings, so you could feel entitled, deprived, resentful. You could view the world as unfair, unjust, or it owes you. Okay. Did everybody feel like they've been in a box at some point in their life? Is there anybody that was like, I don't resonate with that at all? Nobody? Okay, good. Okay, we're going to have a fun little activity. We're We're going to move around the room a little bit. So this,
We can also use that other room too if this room doesn't work as well.
I'll need these up so you can see them. Yeah, this will be all right. It's totally fine. So everybody kind of stand up. Okay, let's take work, for instance, work. Okay, while I'm explaining the activity, I want you to think about what is the box. Well, first of all, let's do the box you naturally gravitate. Does everybody kind of have one of those? Okay, so if you are a must be seen as box, you're going to be kind of right here in this row. Okay, so must be seen as box, just walk over here. If you're going to be the I deserve box, right here, this middle row. So if you're the I deserve box, just kind of walk over here. In the back of the room over here is going to be the worse than box. Anybody worse than box? Okay, and then lastly, this corner, better than box. All right. And then everybody just kind of pick a place. Okay, this is really interesting. All right. What's your guys' CEO's name again? Brandon. All right. I'm TJ, by the way. Okay, Brandon. Take a look at this. Naturally, your people love or are in the must be seen as box. A lot of them. Not saying that you'd like, oh, okay, let me just dial that in and you'll fix everything. That's not how it works. But okay, this is really interesting. Comment on why you're in the middle.
I can't decide which one I am.
Okay. You're both. Does anybody else feel that? Are they like, man, I'm two of these? Okay, yeah, all four. Yeah. I love that people can naturally see like, yeah, I'm naturally this, but I've been this, I've been that. And then I love being in the middle, like, I just can't pick one all the time, right? Does anybody want to comment on why they feel like they naturally gravitate towards their box, whichever one you're in? We'll take 2 comments. Does anybody want to comment?
I think the better than box fits me best because I got so many things that need my time right now.
Yeah.
I got a 1-year-old. I've got full-time school. I'm starting this new recruiting portion of our company.
Mm-hmm.
So many people need me right now, so I feel like that's kind of where I fit.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Anybody else? Anybody? Let's big group. Yeah.
I feel like that must be seen as box. I feel that in any given hour increment of time.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like I need to be,
Yeah.
because I need to like be put together and things like that. I'm like, man, what do people think of me?
Sure.
My feelings are always overwhelmed or anxious.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no.
Okay.
I do view the world as dangerous.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm like,
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being vulnerable.
why are these people around me?
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing. Okay. Now that you kind of have which one you are naturally just, every day of the week or whatever, I want you to think of when you're at work, when you're doing your job, which one of these do you naturally gravitate towards? So if you naturally gravitate towards a different one, then move. So once again, this is the must be seen as box. Back there, the worse than box. Back there, better than box. And up here, I deserve box. Okay. All right. So everybody move. Move if you're going to move. You got like 8 seconds. Okay. Now this is really interesting. Is nobody in the I deserve box, or are you kind of halfway? You're like halfway. Okay. Would you mind commenting on halfway? What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you? Just help us understand why you're in the middle.
So I feel like I'm proud of the work that I do, and like in everything that I do, I always like which is kind of like the better
Mhm.
But even then, I always like I want more.
Yeah.
Which isn't best mindset, but
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Does anybody else want to comment? Okay, let's do one more, and then we're going to get back to our seats so that I can give you some tools to get out of the box. Last one, I want you to pick your most toxic relationship, whether that's your spouse, kids, coworker, the car that didn't drive last month, guy that doesn't have it. I don't know. Just kidding. So, most toxic relationship. Move to where you naturally go to for that one. I deserve box is up here. Back there is the better than box. Back in that corner is the worse than box. Up here must be seen as box.
Where's the worst thing?
Worse than box is back there.
Is it correct that toxic relationship, which box did it put you in or make you feel?
Which one do you go to when you're in that toxic relationship? Yep, not what they put you in. Just think during it, yeah. Take it with a grain of salt. You can do it either way. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. How interesting is it that people shifted, right? So I love this illustration because it says you can be any box at any time. Every human has these tactics or opportunities in their life to be in one of these boxes, right? You naturally have one, but you could be in a toxic relationship and you are a completely different box, right? Does anybody want to comment why they chose the box that they picked? We'll take one comment really fast. You what? What? Okay, fair. Fair. That's why you're in the box. Okay, yeah.
For me, I'm very much a person who, when I believe I'm right, I'm right.
Oh yeah.
I try to think very carefully about things. Like, so if I have come to the conclusion that I'm right,
Yeah.
I know for a fact that I'm right.
Yeah.
And so, seeing someone else who's defying what I believe to be correct is, for me, my perspective is, wow, you're such a moron.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Totally.
How could you do that?
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm here with stuff like that.
Totally. I love that. I love that. And one last comment. Go ahead. Yeah.
So when I see somebody else in the other box, or I can tell they're doing something that I kind of
Yeah.
it ends up being the box,
It's easy to do, right? Okay, sit down real quick. And while you're sitting, I'll kind of go into one thing that I don't have on any slide, but it's what you guys will probably read about.
I'm too vulnerable. I was in the wrong box. I just realized.
Oh, which one were you in?
I meant to be in the better.
Better than box.
So,
Okay, cool. Yeah, you're totally good. Yeah. Okay, so we had comments about seeing somebody else in a box, and we had a comment about when I know I'm right, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm right, and that puts them in the box or puts them in the other box. There's a word that we use in Arbinger Institute, or not we, but because I'm not part of them, that they use that's called collusion. And if you guys read their books, you'll definitely read about collusion. I love the example that you gave about being absolutely right. You can totally be right about something and still be in the box, still put other people in the box. And the problem with being absolutely right is that you see other people as wrong, and if they think that they are right, then you're in this loop of collusion where, like I said, the negativity goes around and around and around, where it's like, I'm right, you're wrong. And they're like, well, no, I'm right, you're wrong. Right? So, and then you don't fix anything, and the relationship can deteriorate rapidly. Do you guys think it's easier to build a relationship or tear it apart? Tear it apart, 100%. Gotta love human nature. Okay. Was this helpful for anybody? Okay, thank you. Okay, best ways out of the box. How are we doing on time?
Good.
Okay, cool. Okay, I just didn't want to go over. 10 minutes? Oh, we're so golden. It's going to be great. Okay, best ways out of the box. The very first one, see others as people. When you see that statement written up there, does that resonate with you, or are you like, Yeah, well, duh. But how do you do that? So which one are you? Are you like, yeah, that's a great statement? Or are you like, yeah, duh, stupid, but how do you actually do that? Okay. Yeah, I love that, right? Yeah, duh, dummy. Like, exactly. That's what you've been talking about for 45 minutes. But how do you actually do that? Okay. I do have a slide up here that's going to be daily activities. So you'll have some activities. But the first one that I want to talk about is how to see people as people is this. So sometimes when I say the inward mindset, it's like, okay, well, I can't think about me. I have to think about everybody else. But that's super hard to do because you can only control yourself, right? You can't control any other person. So when you're going to focus on your actions, do you think an action that is helpful or not helpful, which one of those is better? Like, that's an easy question, but do you like doing not helpful things? Or do you love feedback from your supervisor that you're like, yeah, that was helpful. Love you. And don't talk to me tomorrow. Okay? So when your actions are helpful and positive, which is why I loved kicking off our entire 45 minutes together with our exercise here, did that feel good? Did it feel good? Right? What made it feel good? Seeing somebody else succeed. Great. What else? Anybody over here or more over here? What? The atmosphere, right? And cheering. What else? Anybody? Did it feel really positive? And could you, like, you could feel the intensity of it, right? Now that we're learning the material, we're not as intense, right? The energy is not what it was when we were cheering everybody on. Otherwise, we would never learn anything because the material couldn't go in. But I love kicking it off that way because you can actually feel the positivity and the positive nature of somebody cheering you on, trying to win and become the only winner of this group, which is amazing, right? Do you think that having a positive, helpful action with your spouse today would make a difference? Or significant other, or boyfriend, girlfriend, relationship, situationship, car. Do you think that's going to help? Do you think that can build the relationship? Right? That most toxic relationship that you have in your life right now, do you think a helpful action or some ounce of positivity can help that? Yeah, 100%. Acknowledging when you're in the box. Now, I don't want to see this in your organization because I've taught this before, and some people go, they walk up to somebody like, hey, you're in the box. I mean, you can do that. Do you think you're going to get good feedback from that? Maybe. Does anybody in here think they could take that criticism from their supervisor? Like, hey, you're in the box. Let's re-attack it. Does anybody think they could take that?
I don't think I could take it, but I think you have a good relationship with your boss who's managing you or with
Yeah.
your boss. I think easier.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
I would say on that.
Yeah.
It's when you do that, if you have that common language.
Yeah.
And that's the way that you approach it. You're taking it from you and you're putting it onto a third party that you both
Sure.
understand.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a lack of defensiveness and a lack of emotion because it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you know that I'm coming from a place of trying to help by saying, hey, are you in the box?
Totally. I love that. And I'm not saying to not do it. I'm just saying that sometimes I've seen it be a really bad negative. So it can really be helpful because sometimes, and you guys have said it already, that it's easy to see when somebody else is in the box. So sometimes it's easy to point out. Okay, so acknowledging when you're in the box, super good, super helpful, super hard to do sometimes when it's yourself. Resist justifying your actions. When we had the comment that said, when I know I am right, 100%, hands down, no question about it. Do you think you're about to justify doing something? right? Who here has justified their actions against their significant other, kids, dog, whatever, right? Probably all of us, right? It's easy to do and it's easy to slip into. So, resist justifying your actions. When you resist justifying, you skip and break the collusion loop. Okay, so when you guys get further into all that collusion stuff, when you guys get there, it'll start to make sense, right? Breaking the collusion loop helps see people as people, and it stops you from just putting them in a box or as an object, and it can be very helpful for you. Okay, so let's wrap up with this before I give you your daily activities. So we'll wrap up and have some questions, and I'll show you some daily activities that are really helpful for anybody. So we're back to this pyramid of relationship building. So now that I've given you some tools and some knowledge about being in the box, do you think that this pyramid can get easier to the correction mode, right? Or do you think it gets easier to build a relationship with your spouse, your kids, significant other? I hope so. Any questions on any of the material thus far before I give you the daily activities and then we'll be finished? Go ahead.
I'm interested where the line is, because I see get out the box is kind of easy for me to understand. Build supporting relationships. I'm interested in understanding we're a small company.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody.
Sure.
We all have an influence of, like, with each other in
Totally.
some way, shape, or form. Where does that kind of separate from build a relationship, and are those steps different for building supporting relationships?
Yes, they are. Great question. So he's wanting some more information on building supporting relationships and how it kind of differs. I won't go too deep into it. There's a whole section on all that, and especially in their book called The Anatomy of Peace. But I'll give you an example. Do you guys have separate teams? What are two of the teams called? Just throw it out there. Like account management and fulfillment. Okay, who's on account management? Who's on fulfillment? Okay. If somebody from fulfillment is like, hey, jackass over in accounts management, yeah. If they're like, hey, you didn't do something, and they burn that relationship just with a single person, then how else are you going to build that but to build relationships, supporting relationships with that team again, right? So sometimes you don't have a relationship with the actual person. So then you're like, well, how do I even get into this person's sphere? I don't know them, or I don't like them, or they, cussed me out one day, or they took my parking spot one day, or they ate my sandwich from the fridge, right? Well, if you can't build the relationship with that specific person, then you need to come back to build supporting relationships. And this is really a kind of a gray area in here for sure. So there's a lot of topics to go into on that. But building supporting relationships, I would say you would get a lot of people from fulfillment to build better relationships with account management, to help try to bring in to build the relationship with that single person that had like a fight or a tiff or something. Hopefully that answers your question. There's there's a deep dive there, but we don't have a lot of time. So, okay. So I want you to just kind of think about relationships in general. When you're building your relationships, if you're struggling with them because you can't even teach and communicate, well, then you start listening to them. Help me understand what you just said to me. Help me understand why you want us to do a new vertical. Because maybe you're like, that vertical's stupid and that's never going to work. I'm not saying that, but maybe you know that it's not going to work, right? Then bring it up. And hopefully he will listen, right? Help people understand what you're talking about. Okay, last thing. And then we will be finished. So your daily applications or your daily activities. I want you to think about somebody you've been in the box toward. Could be your boss, coworker, your friend, like a long lost friend, kids, spouse, the person that's in the cubicle next to you. I'm trying to come up with examples for homie back here. Somebody that you're on the phone with, anybody, right? I want you to think of somebody you've been in the box toward and do one thing for that person today. One positive action. Something that'll be helpful to them. Something that my wife loves is she loves Diet Dr. Pepper. Woo, boy. Does anybody drink Diet Dr. Pepper in here? Oh, man. Or Diet Coke? Coke Zero? Okay, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. All right, and we could have a fight. Amen. I don't drink any of this stuff. Anyway, you know, maybe your significant other has a drink that they are just like, they like that drink better than you, right? Maybe. So get them that drink and do something positive for them. Anyway, my wife loves Diet Dr. Pepper. They are in the fridge all the time. And I try to, when we sit down to dinner, I just pour it for her because I think that'll be helpful. I've never asked her, but she likes Diet Dr. Pepper, so that's what I do. So think of something you're going to do for somebody today, one positive action. And then at every interaction today, so from here to the end of the day, concentrate on seeing people's needs, their objectives, their challenges, right? When somebody comes up to you like, oh, we ran out of cups. Oh, okay, there's a challenge. Let's try to fix that. Or they're like, hey, we ran out of deadlines today. Or like probably right now, you guys have leads and stuff coming in. And you might have stuff that's piling up because you're in here listening to me and not doing the stuff that you're doing all the time anyways, right? So you may have a challenge that's going to come up because you weren't looking at it the whole time. But see what happens as a result. See them as a person. Like, hey, help me understand why this is a big fire for you. Because in my eyes, I don't see a fire. I don't see anything. It just looks like a mundane, everyday task. So explain to me why it's a here, right now fire. And then help somebody feel appreciated today. When we had everybody over here, that's going to be fun. So it'll be an exciting time to try to help everybody feel like they're appreciated, right? Say thank you. Somebody bags your groceries, try to talk to them, Think of someone who has been waiting for something from you. Whatever that is, could be a today thing, could be a next week thing, could be they've been waiting 3 years for it. Whatever that is, and I'm sure you just, something popped into your mind. I haven't done that. Whatever that is, deliver on it. Get it done. They've been waiting for it. Maybe it's valuable to them, maybe it's not. Get it done. And then lastly, before making decisions today, ask, who's going to be affected by this decision? And then try to coordinate with them. If you have a team group and you have full autonomy, cool, make a bunch of decisions. If you're like, I got to make this decision with our team, make the decision with the team. My biggest case here is either your spouse or significant other or whatever, situationships, whatever. If you're about to make a choice that's going to affect them, try to coordinate with them. I am the worst at that. Recently, Sam knows this, I bought 3 motorcycles. My wife was not a part of the conversation at all. Do you think I got any hell for it? No, 100%. 100%. Do you think I'm still paying for this? Yep. Okay. Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to come out. Thank you so much, Sam, for the opportunity to come out. Thanks, Leslie, so much. And thanks, everybody that I've met in the room. I do know that the things in here are going to be difficult. But if you try to implement them slowly, you will build better relationships in your lives. You will feel more fulfillment. And you will start to be more successful and accelerate your career. You'll accelerate the people around you. It's super fun to watch people just take off when the relationship is strong. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you.